Emulation of attacks to validate Cisco security defenses. Atomic Test 2, Network Detection and Response, and Cisco's XDR. Now, again, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of nuance here, right? You could obviously block this very earlier on, depending on the technologies that you might have in the environment. But the goal here is to detect and then ultimately prevent, if possible. So let's get started. So we're using Caldera here. This time we're living off the land. So we're going to look for discovery. That's the tactic, and the technique is T1046, Network Service Discovery. Now what we're going to do is, in fact, leverage PowerShell to live off the land. Living off the land is leveraging the native capabilities of the system once you have gained access to that system. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a ton of opportunity to defend before the adversary gets there. But the goal here is to assume that the adversary is already there and is now doing discovery using that network service discovery technique. Now the endpoint has Caldera, and it also has the Cisco Secure endpoint, as well as the network visibility module for the network detection response capability. All right, let's get started. Now, this one's got a little bit of fun here, right? Because we're in ChatGPT. And what I've said is, I said, listen, I don't know PowerShell, so create me a PowerShell script that scans the entire local subnet, a /24. Scan each IP in the range, and don't use this dash band because I was running into problems with it, while still determining the exact IP range we are scanning. Scan for common, most vulnerable ports and provide the results of the IPs with a summary of open ports only. Explain each step along the way. Now, this is pretty cool. I had to get rid of this dash band. It kept breaking. I couldn't get it to work. But again, it went through, it created this script, and you know what? It worked right out of the gate. Now the explanation, so I can learn a little bit about each one of the lines that are part of this code. I copied this in, I pasted into a notepad, and then I said, well, wait a minute, let's encode it as well. So can you go ahead and encode the script that you just created? And it basically says, here's a script you can leverage to add your script to it, and then run this command, dash encoded command, and then attach the base 64 string. So, all right, let's go ahead and copy this new piece of code that we're going to use to encode the original script that ChatGPT provided us. So we'll copy that initial snippet of code. We're going to place it here just where it tells us to. And again, this piece of code was created by ChatGPT as well. And this is going to encode that PowerShell script that will scan my network. It'll figure out what network I'm on. It'll do a /24 and it'll scan for any open ports. And here's my encoded command. Pretty easy. So go ahead and copy this. And if I want to run that command, all I have to do is use PowerShell.exe -encoded command. There's my encoded command. Copy that out, go into PowerShell, run it, and you can see how quick it is. Bam, there's the ports. And I'm calling out EDR is not enough. EDR is only as good as the asset it is installed on, but nothing escapes the network. And here we can see it was identified. We see this internal port scanner. We can see an attack chain was built. And again, this is based on multiple observations of that particular asset because we've been doing a lot of testing with it. And there's always more to the story, but we were able to determine or detect the discovery internal scan that was taking place. And I can go from alert timeline to connection graph. And I can see the connection graph here. I can see the ports and the IPs that we scanned over that period of time. I can jump into Caldera. I can actually create my own abilities here. So we're in abilities. I've already created 2 examples, and formatting is key in here. But I created one for Cisco Network Visibility module, and here is the raw script. So it's not encoded. And formatting in here is key, but I was able to copy this in, and now I have a capability I can run all the time from Caldera. I also have the encoded command as well, and I align the right tactic and technique to it, and I may provide additional notes. So now what I can do is I can automate this. So not only did I live off the land and try it, but now I can use it as part of my breach attack simulation tool, in this case Caldera, to be able to run this at leisure. So we'll go ahead and look for that internal port scan. There's the encoded one. We'll add that. Gives me a summary. And we'll do the non-encoded command, right? The clear text. And we'll go ahead and add that and close that out. And here we go. The test started off. You can see there's my command. And here's the raw script. And again, we're not preventing here. We're just trying to determine whether or not we have the ability to detect this activity. And you can see the open ports here. And if we do the same on the other one, and again, the same result. Now, if we go to debrief and we go to that atomic test that we did, we can go and see the 2 scans that we did, both encoded and non-encoded. We can see the technique is network service discovery, and we can see all the IP addresses that were involved in that particular scan. Pretty cool. So in summary, we were able to detect discovery using network service discovery technique T1046. And we were able to build out an attack chain because there was other observations that have taken place on this particular asset over a period of time. We're using this asset for multiple different tests, and obviously there's some associations that take place here. There's always more to the story. EDR is only as good as the asset it is installed on, and it's never 100% effective 100% of the time. And you can't hide within the network. It's impossible. If you land on an asset, that's not where you're going to end up. You need either data from that asset, you need to move laterally within the organization, and that's going to create noise. And that noise can be used to trigger alerts to let you know that something is in the environment or something is acting different than it normally does. Pretty cool stuff.